Lead story for Thursday, July 31st. Google is now indexing publicly shared ChatGPT conversations, potentially exposing sensitive business information, strategies, and personal details. Marketers and business should audit their shared content, educate teams about AI privacy, and take precautions to prevent data leaks. Or is this more of a marketing opportunity? Welcome to episode 1837. I'm your host, Todd Cochran. Well, this story started out really monumental um, this afternoon. And I alluded to the social followers that I would have something big. And it's still big, but not as big. And let me explain. So, Google is indexing shared search results. Now, you can use the term site semicolon chatgpt chatgpt.com/share plus a keyword. Now, there was an option yesterday or earlier today that when you click shared, it said make this link indexable by Google. And in the very initial thoughts, most of you like, oh my God, anything I share with a coworker is now public. Well, yeah, if you turn that on. If you didn't turn that on, the link that you had was still, if it was ever exposed, would still be indexable, I'm assuming. Now, soon as this story broke and people started to kind of understand some of the implications, ChatGPT turned it off, and I was like, "Shit!" And that was literally 15 minutes ago as I was prepping to do this show. Now, I want you to think just a little bit about a conversation that you could have with ChatGPT that might go something like this. Here's a chat query I wrote for ChatGPT. Geek News Central's had GoDaddy as a sponsor of the podcast for 20 years, offering the best promo codes for saving on hosting and domain names. The advantage of using a GoDaddy promo code from Geek News Central is that you're truly supporting an independent team, unlike big promo sites which often steal and then replace codes of their own. Consumers using the codes originating from Geek News Central are sure they're helping a team and not some multinational company. Please create a detailed marketing document on why consumers should use a promo code from Geek News Central. So that was the query. Okay, so now let me take this the next step. So it created me a marketing document, which, okay, it's a marketing document and it's pretty extensive. I could have just cut and paste this into Geek News Central and wrote a blog post about it. And it was pretty extensive here, right? So for those of you watching, you can see giving references and everything. So now let's take this and think about the potential. The potential, in my opinion, could have been to be able to send and give new Google search engine signals by writing queries that excluded competitors, um, all kinds of data um, that you could force into the conversation by steering the chat. My my idea And I wasn't the only one because there was a discussion that was going on with a team that I work with, is that that type of query could have resulted in some gains in SEO. And it could have been used as an SEO manipulation tool. Now, I'm sure Google thought about this when it started indexing these pages. They were coming up. I was doing searches. Um, Primarily did searches for Blueberry initially to make sure none of our stuff that we have shared, which we did not turn on the index piece with. Um, but there was some very big potential there, right? So now it really doesn't change things completely because you can still surface these um, these Chat GPT sessions by posting a link to them in social or on your web page. So there is the potential to still have s- supporting um, content to help in marketing. Now, that's my contention. It could, and it potentially should. So again, it all depends on how you wrote the query. And I've written a couple of these for Geekness Central and played around with it, um, and really steered the messaging. And what I will do is I'm going to link several of these in in some blog posts going forward. It's a legitimate link with information, um, and see how it does, and see how Google reacts to those links. So, I thought the bigger deal was silently allowing Google to index and pick up on this information versus just sharing. So valuable, maybe. So, what say you? What do you think? Do you think this is the case? Do you think this is a legitimate um, hack? I'm curious. I'd love to hear from you. Geeknews@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get kicked off here. I want to welcome you to episode 1837. I'm your host, of course, Todd Cochran. A shout out to our incredible sponsor, GoDaddy. Explore exclusive deals and discounts at geeknesscentral.com/GoDaddy. And of course, to all of our listeners, you are the heartbeat of the show. And if you want to support GNC, head to geeknesscentral.com/insider and become a GNC insider. Do you think that tip was worth an insider donation? I hope so. Of course, we're lit and live. Don't just listen, experience the show live by grabbing a modern podcast app at podcastapps.com. You can interact in real time. And of course, we want you to take time and check out the entire Geek News Central universe at geeknewscentral.com, where you find all of our partner shows and tons of new content. And of course, we want you to stay in the loop. Follow or subscribe to the podcast via your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. Again, at geeknewscentral.com for even more insider scoops. You can join the conversation at geeknews.chat, geeknews.chat, or you can email me directly or hit me up on X, geeknews@gmail.com, at geeknews on X. A great way to stay connected. Won't say too much more about GoDaddy because I kind of talked about them in the beginning of the show as part of my marketing message. But don't forget, we've got the promo codes available for you. $11.99 for new domain name, $6.99 a month for economy hosting, $12.99 a month for managed WordPress hosting. You get a free trial of GoDaddy website builder, 30-day free trial as well. So definitely remember to support GoDaddy and we'll see if we start getting picked up and this page starts getting picked up more um, with any of the little experiments I do, or if it will end up backfiring. But again, all the promo codes are geekcentral.com/GoDaddy. And thanks to GoDaddy for the long time support here of the podcast. I do want to thank all of you for being here and staying subscribed to the podcast. Got a great, I mean, it's a really good lineup of content tonight. Um, really starting off with a article saying that Google must open the Play Store to Epic Games and others after appeal loss. So Google has failed in its attempt to appeal a ruling from Epic versus Google. The tech giant will have to follow the remedies from the original case, which include allowing third-party app stores to be downloaded from the Play Store. And CEO Tim Sweeney has confirmed the Epic Games Store will now come to Play Store, so be on the lookout for that. And again, after losing its appeal, the judge's order, Google will now have to overhaul its App Store policies. This includes letting third-party app stores onto its platform. So a big win for Epic and others in this situation. So the strikes keep coming. TikTok is introducing parental controls, fact checking, and AI moderation features. Now this is curious. They're doing fact checking. So I wonder if they're going to put some sort of warning. Family pairing, a feature allows parents to monitor their teens' TikTok accounts. Will notify parents when their teens upload videos, stories, or photos. It'll also let parents know which features, topics their teens have chosen to fill their feeds. Creators will have some new tools to take advantage of TikTok as introduce AI to help moderate their comment section. Um, so helping to curate messages. What does it talk about fact checking here? Not too much on the fact checking piece. Now, I will warn you, I don't think the president is going to extend the September 29th deadline. I don't think he will. Based on how the trade talks are going, I just don't think he will. Unless some deal is made with China, I would suspect it'll go dark again. So be prepared. And a lot of experts are saying that as well out there. So just remember, we may not get another extension. Meanwhile, YouTube is loosening profanity rules for monetized videos. In November 2022, YouTube changed its rules so that operators who use swear words in the first 8 to 15 seconds would potentially be ineligible for any ad revenue. After much backlash, the company changed its rules in 2023 so that such videos would be eligible for limited ad revenue unless they used profanity in the majority of the video. Now, according to the latest changes, YouTube's head of monetization, Connor Kavanaugh, said in a video late on Thursday that the change of 2 years ago were made to align with YouTube videos with broadcast standards. They said we introduced this guideline to align with broadcast standards. Advertisers expected ads on YouTube to have some distance between profanity. Those expectations have changed, and advertisers already have the ability to target content to their desired level of profanity. So I guess you'll be able to swear, but the advertiser still can set the level. So I would be very, very careful if you are monetized on YouTube and swearing up front for sure. Random employee searches are going to resume at NASA headquarters, and there's a curiosity about this. And some folks on NASA Watch are saying, "Well, this is because they just shown 4,000 people the door." Well, they voluntarily are leaving NASA, so it's not a forced RIF. So why would the risk be higher for someone coming in and doing some sort of an effect, doing some sort of mass event? So, what they're going to do, all military bases, honestly, you're subject to a random inspection going through the door, a dog and or personnel search. So, Michigan when you go to a reserve base, if you're a concealed carry, as long as you declare the gun at the gate, you can go on base with your concealed carry, but no drugs. You have any weed in your car, then you're going to be susceptible to a federal situation if a dog finds any weed in your vehicle. So just be aware. Yeah, going into facilities, any government, federal, you're subject to search. So just don't forget to take the vape out of your pocket before you go to court or you go to a federal building, for sure, especially if it's one of those special vapes. Minnesota governor calls in the cyber troops after St. Paul cyber attack. The government called in the cyber forces from the armed forces because the folks in St. Paul, Minnesota, have been overwhelmed, and their systems are largely offline, and they're using the military to help them get back online. The current administration is officially floating a plan for Americans to share their medical data more freely. When I read this, I was a little like, I don't know about that. And, considering how hackers are these days and how much, how many data breaches there have been, but we've already proven that healthcare systems are not capable of keeping our data private. But in a press release announced by the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary, claimed bureaucrats and entrusted interests have for decades blocked access to medical data. For now, the Center for Medical and Medicaid Services is still in a in early stages, but the long-term goal is to enable a range of apps that allow individual patients more control over who can access their medical data and when. The apps are broadly divided in categories, including conversational AI assistants, kill the clipboard apps for eliminating paper forms, and apps for managing obesity and diabetes. So companies said to have signed up include medical record giants. So, it'd be nice. When I left the military, my medical records are on, I have a bag that's I have two medical records that are about that thick, and I have all scanned, and then I have all my images from my surgery, a crazy amount of stuff that I have physical custody of because once it get into the military medical system, it's just almost impossible to get it out, including the VA. So it'd be nice to have a place where I could safely store all that information, or available to a provider without having to go through 25 layers of information every time you switch doctors, which in my case, I get a new doctor quite often, every 2 or 3 years, just the way the VA works. So we'll see how this proceeds. Samsung profit more than halves, missing expectations. The chip business plunges 94%. So this is the reason why Samsung is so happy about that Tesla deal we talked about. Samsung posted quarterly revenue 74.6 trillion Korean won, up slightly, but its second quarter operating profit came to 4.7 trillion won, plunging from 10.44. Notably, its devices solutions division recorded a 93.8% drop in operating profit over the last year, and that would be their chip division. So earnings reports a little better on the U.S. side, but definitely the Korean-based Samsung is getting hit there. U.S. senators are introducing a new pirate site blocking bill. After a decade focus on efforts overseas, the push for website blocking has landed back on American shores. This week, a similar proposal to Representative Zoe Lofgren's introduced a new pirate site blocking bill. This is called Blackbeard. The site blocking proposal seeks to amend U.S. copyright laws, enabling right holders to request federal courts to designate online locations as a foreign digital piracy site. If that succeeds, courts can subsequently order U.S. service providers to block access to these sites, and I'm sure IPTV and other services are probably part of the target on this. I've got an article here a little bit later talking about paid streaming services for local channels, which is ridiculously expensive, but yet, here I can watch local news. I can watch local news from Michigan in the Philippines with no problem. Again, my IPTV has 5,000 channels, and I basically can watch any service anywhere in the world. And I'm sure that these types of services is what they're targeting here. And I know that these types of services are obviously available in the U.S. as well, under the cover of darkness, and people are paying $5 a month or $10 a month for uh, the similar type of service with IPTV. So maybe the days are numbered, but if what's going to happen then is people just use VPNs. It's really not going to be effective. They have jurisdiction in the United States, but the VPN will route around any of these blocks. So, um, you know, hard to put the genie back in the bottle for sure. Amazon yanks Sengeld, Sengeld Alexa skills. I'm not familiar with Sengeld, but Sengeld is light bulbs that are controlled directly with Zigbee or Bluetooth connectivity. They can still be controlled via um, other functions, but apparently they've had so much trouble. Amazon has pulled the plug on them. Apple, of course, has slammed the DOJ lawsuit and threatens the very principle that set the iPhone apart. We know the DOJ formally sued Apple in March of 2024, and Apple has now finally voiced its opposition to the case and coming out with its filing. They have six different arguments to the lawsuit, and they're seeking, some remedy here. So we'll see what happens with this. But is this a introductory statement to the Apple's answers? I guess is what they call this. This isn't a. I'm looking at this a little bit deeper. Yeah. Apple's full filing walks through intricacies of each topics and highlight where it thinks the DOJ is misguided. So they got some good arguments here. Link will be up in the show notes for you to review. Oh yeah, speaking of the really great deal, the really great deal for being able to stream local channels, and this is such such caca. DirecTV quietly builds the cheapest streamer for local channels. Okay, so DirecTV has leaned into more streaming than satellite TV of late. They're now offering a $40 a month bundle, $40 with all four major broadcast networks: ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC in 5 U.S. markets. It offers three of the big four networks in more than a dozen additional U.S. markets. $40? Like I said, all this is available on IPTV for $5 a month. $40 a month? 40 for local stuff that's being streamed over the air? 40? You've got to be kidding. 40? How can you justify that? Are you that much of a news nerd? $40. Where I live, I can't pick up a signal. One of those new signals they have. I get no public channels, no matter what I do, and I still wouldn't pay 40. I wouldn't. Half their shorts and stuff that you need to watch are available on YouTube as well. Spotify introduces face scanning age checks for UK users as some Furious fans threaten to return to piracy. So we knew this went in effect. Spotify's implemented their fix, and they're complying with the UK's Online Safety Act. A return to piracy? Yeah, maybe. But what music are they really being limited to? That will be a question. So, what are they actually limiting on the music channel? Um, yeah, again, I don't know what they're being limited to. It's just more for safety, I think. Chinese researchers suggesting lasers and sabotage to counter Musk's Starlink satellites. You think they're friends of ours? Chinese military and cyber researchers are intensifying efforts to counter Elon Musk's Starlink satellite network, viewing it as a potential tool for U.S. military power across nuclear space and cyber domains. Stealth submarines fitted with space shooting lasers, supply chain sabotage, and custom built attack satellites armed with ion thrusters. Did you hear that? Supply chain sabotage? These are some of the strategies China says have been developing to counter what Beijing sees as a potent threat. These are just some, listen, of the strategies Chinese scientists have been developing to counter. So, developing and deploying are pretty close in two words. So, we can't be getting in the business of shooting satellites. We really can't. We've already seen what the results of that is for sure. Apple has beat quarter three expectations on strong iPhone sales. So, what was the number here? For the third quarter, Apple saw earnings of $1.57 on revenue, an EPS of $1.57, and 94 billion. Wall Street anticipated EPS of $1.43 on revenue of 89.2. The company saw EPS of $1.40 and revenue of 85.7 the same quarter last year. So Apple's China sales hit 15.3 billion. Wall Street was expecting 15.1. So they've done well in the past quarter, and the stockholders rejoice. Google Chrome is testing a way to stop you from accidentally bailing on your page. This happens to me in the mobile device a lot. And if you ever accidentally left a page in Chrome, Google's cooking up a fix. Now you can restore easily in a browser, but it's not as easy on your mobile device. And then they're working on a new swipe that feels a lot like iOS. It lets you swipe back to get a quick look at the last page, making it easier to avoid going back by accident. So this will be kind of welcome for Android. That's the thing I probably have the biggest issue with on the Chrome. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 breaks records for highest number of Fold pre-orders, a more than 25% increase in total pre-orders compared with last year. And maybe what's going on here is people are getting more comfortable with these things and durability and utilization. I still think it's pretty weird from that regard on these particular phones. But I haven't really played with one that much. So I guess I'll have to be kind of cautious here in what I'm talking about. But definitely orders are up. Google is saying it will start disclosing security issues much quicker than before. Project Zero is getting an important update. And launched in 2021, Project Zero launched with a 90 plus 30-day policy, 90 days for vendors to fix a bug, and with an additional 30 days for users to adopt. However, since a so-called upstream patch gap has emerged, whereby time between when a fix is available upstream and when it becomes available downstream is longer than a deal, extending the life cycle of vulnerabilities, they are going to try to tighten this up. And a new trial policy will improve transparency by disclosing the vendor open source project, the date of the filed report, and the 90 disclosure deadline. So making people try to be a little more reactive. I did not see if the launch went to the International Space Station or not, but it was supposed to lift off at 12:09 p.m. Eastern. So I've got the article up on the potential launch. So if, I apologize, didn't pick that one up while I was looking. Did pick this up, but anyway, in Crew 11 off, hopefully off to the ISS. Meta is also pledging, it was a big story this whole week, to spend billions on AI. Now, what else is new? People are spending a lot of money. But they want to double its AI infrastructure spending and looking to keep up with rivals. And this infrastructure is not cheap, but they really want to personalize the AI and obviously tie it back to WhatsApp and Facebook and all the other stuff that Facebook currently has. We know that AI images are flooding the internet, and especially human faces. Fake images, videos, and voice recordings become much easier, but there are also new tools designed to find this. Um, but again, I think some of these tools are not perfect, and I'm having to be very, very careful on stuff I'm clicking on these days. There's a site called Deepfake Meter and such. Um, Again, I think there needs to be some sort of flagging on images, especially when they can are of an issue that could be used to trick you. And again, in 1 year, the quality of the images have doubled. So, what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years? Firefly Aerospace wins fourth Lunar Lander Award. NASA selected Firefly Aerospace for fourth Lunar Lander mission. This one taking rovers and instruments to the South Pole region of the moon. So we'll see how the timeline develops on that. NASA is also developing what it calls the Skyfall maneuver and plans to drop 6 Mars helicopters mid-air. Experts are questioning whether this really has potential. In a groundbreaking move poised to redefine extraterrestrial exploration, NASA and AeroVironment have unveiled Skyfall, an ambitious mission concept that plans to place 6 autonomous helicopters on Mars, aiming to accelerate the path towards human landings by 2030. And this is building on Ingenuity success, but some folks are saying it's a really high risk situation. And I think if you want to push the bubble, you have to take some risk. But scientists have weighed in a little bit with some skepticism. Google Pixel 10 pricing and online sales dates have leaked, and it's all good news all around. So here's the pricing: $799 for Pixel 10, $999 for Pixel 10 Pro, $1199 for Pixel 10 Pro XL, and $1799 for Pixel 10 Pro Fold. So these are the same as we saw for Google Pixel 9 phones, except for the Google 10 Pro XL. But it seems the cheapest version of that phone will have 256 gigs of storage rather than 128 gigs. So there you go. There's your upcoming pricing on those. One thing I like here in the Philippines is when I'm ordering food, and there's an app here called Grab, and actually, you can order food, you can order a car, you can order groceries. It's a great app, and the beauty about it is the vendor can message you. They can say, "Sir, did you want did you leave this off your order?" Or they can message you, and you can also communicate, as you can in many apps with Uber, with the driver. But this allows you here with Grab to be able to communicate with the people actually preparing your food or picking up your groceries. Of course, that's also possible via direct chat when people are shopping for groceries. But Uber Eats is now letting merchants message customers about their orders. So this is good. And I think what will happen there is you'll have the ability, if there's something wrong, to message the merchant directly. And that's always huge, huge, huge value. There's some new sneakers out there that have a secret AirTag compartment to track your child's location. I think this is wonderful. With as much crazy stuff going on in the world right now, um, I think my Skechers shoes having this secret compartment is fantastic. Um, how many of you have already bought those lace in? Um, basically, you can lace in an AirTag. Um, they've had that stuff for years, but this built in the shoe, I think, is fantastic. Mac users should install a new update immediately as Mac OS Sequoia bows out with a crucial bug fix. Um, so, as reported by 9 to 5 Mac, Apple's released Mac OS Sequoia 15.6, a new update with an important bug fix that resolves an issue with Finder and Apple configurators' inability to restore devices from DFU, which is called Device Firmware Upgrade, which could result in a brick device if unsuccessful. Wow. So, user would need to specify enter the DFU mode. I'm not even familiar with DFU mode. So, yes, update, quote unquote, your Mac. Facial recognition software leads to arrest of a suspect accused of injuring an ICE officer. Well, I guess it goes to show you that there's probably a reason why people that are doing protests these days are wearing masks to avoid the uh, the face recognition. Also, the administration is seeking to unleash AI in schools. Um, so they're looking to propel the use of artificial intelligence in school, a task that puts the U.S. in a race with China and faces open-ended questions on the best way to implement. And the multiple AI plans, including K-12, released last week. They sent guidance to K-12 schools outlining formula and discretionary grant funds. And this is the first time the U.S. government has explicitly positioned AI education as a national security issue. I agree with it. From a research standpoint, on some of these advanced research tools, it's really, really good. It puts a lot of businesses at jeopardy, though, that's online, that in the business of having reference material behind firewalls. Of course, validation is always key too, so maybe they'll still serve a role. Australia, I don't understand you folks, but Australia has banned YouTube accounts for children under 16. The Australian government announced YouTube will require to ensure account holders are at least 16 years old starting in December. So kids are just going to be on their parents' account. That's all that's going to happen. Nothing changes here. Nothing. Nothing. Amazon announces their second quarter results. Net sales increased 13% to 167.7. So I guess those tariffs are really having an effect. Compared to 148 billion in the second quarter, um, net North America sales increased 11% to 100.1 billion. Operating income increased 19.2 billion compared with 14.7 billion in the second quarter of 24. So sounds like they're doing well. I may have some bad news on that here in a minute, though. Figma has more than tripled its New York Stock Exchange debut after selling shares at $33. So Adobe agreed to buy Figma, which basically failed, but they've now went on to do an IPO, and the stock soared to $112 before closing to $115, a 20% gain, giving it a market cap of $68 billion, which um, that's probably a better than what Adobe would have offered. So congratulations to Figma for an amazing public offering here. Roku drives revenue up 15%, turns in surprise profit in a solid quarter two. So they went to 407 billion versus 395. So it's amazing how much revenue Roku, how how they have grown. But will the party be over for Amazon? Because the president has ended the minimus exemption for global low cost goods. So we know that this was waived for a while, but the order text August 29th. So the move comes after he suspended the provision for shipments from China and Hong Kong. So starting at August 29th, you can subject any shipment of imported goods into the US worth $800 or less to duties. So you order that $3 or $4 or $5 shirt on Sheen or Timu or wherever, you're going to have to pay duty, or they're going to have to pay duty on that, which will ultimately increase the cost. So this has been waived, but because China has been a little bit slow to the playing field here, then it's time to invoke some more pain. But people haven't slowed down buying stuff. Will they slow down with this new? And I think the tariff is 30, 15, or 30%. What will it be? Are we in still some crazy? Yeah, it doesn't say what the actual percentage will be, but I know this will make a lot of you that are in business. Maybe it's a good time to put in some advance orders so that you have stuff there for you to weather the storm while this lasts. As always, geeknews at gmail.com is a place to send your commentary at Geek News on Twitter. Don't forget about our sponsor, GoDaddy, geekandcentral.com/GoDaddy. If you found the show valuable, please consider becoming an insider. And I do want to take just a second to thank our insiders that have supported the show. Of course, I want to thank Richard Woodworth for his $10.41 donation and Michael P. for his $5 monthly donation. Greatly appreciated on the Ohana and Warrior donations from each of you, respectively. Thank you so very much. Again, you can support the show again at geeknesscentral.com/insider. Okay, this is going to wrap it up. 1 week before I head back to the USA. So we'll be back with you Monday for a regular show of the Geekness Central podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying subscribed. Thank you for being part of the family here. And again, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, make sure you're signed up for the newsletter. Again, link is on the homepage of the website. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.